Warning: the love virus is highly contagious. Spread at your own risk.
I'm your host, Shantae Yvette. There was a time I wore overworking like a badge of honor. I thought I was being disciplined, ambitious, unstoppable, but what I didn't realize was I was abandoning myself, ignoring my needs, operating from fear. That grind was rooted in scarcity, in a scarcity mindset, and a lack of self love that I hadn't even recognized yet. Overworking often seems like dedication, but it can actually reflect a deeper lack of self love and a scarcity mindset. And here's how: you neglect your basic needs by skipping meals, not getting enough sleep, not enough rest, not enough personal time, for the sake of being productive, for the sake of just hustle. And I neglected myself to the point of so much that I was working 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. And that's not even including the 2 hours of traveling back and forth from work into home. So overall, I was getting like 18 hours of work. And my motto at that time was, I don't need no sleep. I'm hustling. I'm hustling. I'm working 24/7. The early bird catches the worm. And I didn't realize how much I was neglecting myself until I got so exhausted from working like this for weeks at a time that I asked my second job if I can have the day off because I was so exhausted. I felt like I was about to pass out. And the manager of this job told me no. And that made me realize I need to do things differently because they don't care how exhausted I am. They know I'm working like crazy with no days off. And they simply didn't even care, not alone about me, but they didn't care about the patients I had at the time to take care of and how that me being exhausted would affect them as well. So that's when I went on this journey of unbreaking the programming of overworking because I was chronically self sacrificing. I kept, I constantly kept pushing through exhaustion. My self worth was tied to output. Like I really looked at myself like the boss be like the woman with the money, the woman with the coin. Like this is how my identity was shaped into me having the coin. For me, overworking myself, and it really deteriorated my health. It definitely, and when you overwork you avoid emotional healing because when do you have the time? You don't have the time to even think about yourself, let alone your emotions. Hell, you don't even have the time to even do everything you need physically to help yourself, help your body. So it overworking is like one of the programmings and how, and I'm going to talk about and how they use this to shape our reality under the form of control. It is you, and I always would be like, yes, yes, I could come in, I can do this, I can do that. And I used to always wonder why others who barely want to be there or barely show up to work seem to be getting all the praise, all the raises, all the recognition. But then I had to look at the fact that I didn't have no boundaries. They had boundaries. You can say they were being lazy. You can say they didn't care about the job. You can say whatever it is that you want to say, but they made sure their priorities always came before the job. So therefore, the job had no choice but to respect the fact that they had their boundaries, in which I did not. They saw I was working there in another job as well. So they knew, okay, she gonna work. We gonna run her down to the ground. This is what we gonna do because she don't have no boundaries. So I had to learn to say no. I had to put myself first. And what really pushed me to putting myself first is when I ended up going to the hospital for a lung thorectomy, and I realized how none of my, like, yes, co-workers that I talked to, they checked up on me, but none of my bosses checked up on me. None of the people, the other, I had several different bosses, so I had like five different bosses, so none of them checked up on me. So I knew, you know what, this job don't care about me and my health. Now, yes, I had a good job at I had one job at a nursing home. The other job was at a hotel, and at the hotel they were all good folks. They checked on me and everything because it's a family dynamic there. But this one particular job just didn't check on me, and it was something I wasn't even used to. First of all, I'm used to having that type of family, friends type of dynamic. Although, my other job didn't pay me good enough, because if they did, I wouldn't have had a second job in the first place. But that's a whole nother subject in itself. But yeah, so I had to just realize, you know what? I'm going to put myself first. My health is important. I am important. So therefore, this job is not as important as it is when it comes to my family who was there, some of my friends who were there, and myself. So I ended up changing everything. I ended up saying no to anything that I didn't want to do, anything that was going to put me even more time away from my family. I just kept saying no, because I realized y'all don't care about me. All y'all care about is the money that y'all are making. Y'all don't even care about the residents like that. So that's all y'all care about. So I had to put myself first. I had to learn this, ASAP. I had to really learn to put myself first. And I had to have those boundaries and telling people, no, I'm not finna do it. I'm not finna just come in and keep on overworking myself. And y'all don't even appreciate what I'm doing, because y'all got people in here that don't even show up half of the time. Half of the time, they don't, they late, you know. So I ended up being late after that. After that, I was late. I don't care if I come in. I'm supposed to come in at 7 o'clock. I'm coming in at 7:30. That's how I was, because now I'm on my time. And if you can't respect that I'm on my time, I don't need you anyway. Overworking contributes to a scarcity mindset. Like I said, I did not, at the time, have enough money to survive off of one job. So therefore, I had to get a second job, because now I am being fearful of the fact of losing all that I have built up. And it's creating this fear of lack. And it's really contributing to it, because now I see it's no other way but to have, I didn't, and my motto used to always be work smarter, not harder. But at this point in time, I was working harder. I don't know what made me change that, other than the fact that I was scared I would lose my place I lived at, and my car that I needed to get to and from work. So now I'm living in this fear state of lack because I had no choice. I needed to make sure I can stay safe inside my house and I can have a place of stability. And I needed to create that whatever form, however I created it, which it created a sense of stability because if you get fired from one job, you still got the other one for one. And then on top of that, the money. I needed the money at the time, and I didn't know any other way than to do what I was doing. Although I did try to get jobs that paid more, but around that time, Georgia 2016, this is it's not giving the pay like you need the pay to be. I needed at least a good 25, and I knew it. I was not finna work at no warehouse. That was not finna be my thing. I wanted to find another type of white collar type of job, and I couldn't find something within that range. So therefore, I had to stay in that fear of lack for a little period until I can figure out what it is I needed to do to make myself, to help myself, because I had a lack of trust and flow and rest. That's not how I was raised. I was always raised to hustle. Like I was raised to be very independent, like to not depend on nobody. That's how I was raised. I was always raised that I can go out here and get it. The early bird catches the worm. I was raised that way. So lack of trust in the flow and the rest. Yes. If I rest, I fall behind. If I take too many days off, I'm going to fall behind. So therefore, I didn't really take too many days off, even for a vacation. I didn't, because why? Vacation costs money. That's going to make you fall behind. I was already living paycheck to paycheck. So therefore, that was not in my mind frame at that time, at nowhere near my mind frame. But had I known what I know now, I would have took my time and rested as much as I could and made sure I take care of my body, make sure I take care of my mental health, and make sure I do all the things because my body is the vehicle of life. It creates this program that you believe abundance only comes through struggle, not ease, creativity, or intuition, because you're always just constantly grinding. You're constantly grinding and you never getting on top. It's gonna keep you at that stagnant place of you constantly grinding. Every paycheck is gone, and if you got a little bit left, that little you is gone because something gonna come up. It's gone now. It can block opportunities and inspire action because overworking, you're tightly holding on to control, and scarcity makes you grip rather than open to receive. Your focus is on survival and not thriving. Scarcity does keep you in survival mode, and that's what I was living for a while, in survival mode, until I broke out of that mode. It's all a part of a programming. Economically, it encouraged overworking because why? Productivity equals profit. I remember eventually later down the line, once I did quit the both of my well my I quit my hotel job. I went to the nursing job, and then once I had that issue with me needing a lung thoracotomy, I had to get 10% of my lung removed. Now, after I had that, a couple of months when I came back, or probably about 2 3 months, I seen a warehouse job, and it was and Thankfully, I didn't work in the productivity section, but well, actually, I did work in the productivity section because you had to have a certain amount of cases or items per hour in order to keep the job and for them to continue making profit. And that right there alone is already programming you to be productive again. It's telling you if you don't make enough this many hours, you're liable to lose your job. The wages in itself wasn't isn't keeping pace with what we need as a whole. Like the wages aren't keeping pace with the inflation. That's why people like I had to do work multiple jobs and long hours just to meet basic needs and fooling a cycle of overworking. This is how they program us to continue to keep up their productivity, to continue the not us. We not making the profit. The big companies are making the profit. And the lack of labor protections is just astonishing because a lot of the time you only get a certain amount of vacation and sick days, especially compared to other countries. In the US, compared to other countries, we are very much lacking in that department. We've been programmed that success equals constant hustle. It, it, it is culturally productivity is tied to self-worth, like phrases like I said, early bird catches the worm. You sleep when you dead. I don't get tired. Like, come on. These are things that constantly put you in this success equals constant hustle. When you look at the billionaires today, you don't see them working constantly. They have people to do that for them, and those people have people to do that for them. And we are those people that are doing it for them because we don't realize the true freedom isn't in overworking. The true freedom is in just being, just simply being. If like what if the real rebellion isn't grinding her harder, but choosing to rest, heal, and trust divine timing? You have now been effectively